Is C3 R1 Raiden worse than C0 R0 Chloride and C0 R0 Varesa? Who knows? We'll know by the end of this video. Let's go see. Now, one thing we got to talk about, Iansan, only C5. It's good, but it's bad at the same time. So let's go ahead and we're going to start our rotation here. Gonna go ahead and grab an E skill on that. Yes, yes, hold, boom, Q, and we'll have a Q skill on you. That did 400,000 damage. Not necessarily what I wanted. Yeah, I forgot. This is what Chloride ends up doing. So chat, we got to move to a different enemy. Now, they have the same resistances from what I can tell. These enemies, they have the same resistances. The only reason I'm moving to a different enemy is because, well, as you saw, I could not even hit the opponent because he was just stuck in the air, right? I forgot the Chloride team does that. Here we go, chat. Here we go. This is not going to be an issue. We're going to do just fine. E skill, Q skill, Q skill again. Yep, same damage that we saw before, but now we get to actually do Chloride's entire thing. Let's just go. We go until we can't do, and we pop a Q. Boom. And that is all the damage we do for that team. And yeah, that's the damage that we did. It showed up on screen because I do that post-editing. Obviously, I'm not some crazy man who can add up all that damage numbers in a minute. But yeah, we did that. Same resistances as the Capybara. Now, let's go ahead and test out Varesa. Okay, I don't see a reason why we should switch bosses, so let's go ahead and keep going for this guy. Okay, so here we go. We should have no Night Soul. You know, there is a little thing with Varesa. I think if I have full Night Soul here, we might need to restart, but we shouldn't need to. Let's go ahead. E skill, then Q skill. Then we have this, and this, and this. Q skill, and another E skill, another E skill, and then a Q skill, and then we do normals, and then another E skill, then another E skill, then we do another Q, and boom, that's the damage. Alright, so we saw a lot of damage there. I don't know how much damage it really was, but that's the damage that we saw. There we go, guys, and now I'm gonna, go over the builds. And I guess I'll do a little bit well, should I do the builds before the conclusion? I don't know. I'll do it after I see all the damage numbers. This is the best team I can do for my Raiden here. So let's see how much damage we can do here. I'm not a big fan of Raiden, to say the least. Yeah, so yeah, we don't have a high crit rate, and judging by the way that people wanted to act like, yeah, we're gonna go ahead. That is the end of it. Once we get to the final electro hit there, we're ending the rotation. I'm not counting any more damage from that. Don't get me wrong, I fully expected Varesa to win, but not by that much. Now, we can talk about one thing, and I think one thing that's holding, Chloride quite a bit back, and that is my Chloride build is pretty bad. If we go ahead, I have a top 4.6% Varesa, right? And I have a top 4% Raiden. However, if we go look at my Chloride build, she's a top 40%. So when we're directly comparing characters like this, yeah, she's a little bit worse for wear, if we're being entirely honest. She's top 40%. It's not looking great for her, but we can go ahead and we can look at some stuff here. So one thing we gotta acknowledge, Varesa still has a very huge upgrade she can get with her weapon. Her weapon would allow her to be honestly one of the best, she did 2.2 million. I mean, we got to talk about one thing, and that is that Mavuika did a lot of damage on these teams, right? On Varesa and Chloride's teams, Mavuika did a lot of damage. Not so much the Raiden team, but oh my god, Mavuika was doing a lot of damage. She might have done 800,000 damage. And, I mean, that is C2 Mavuika at its finest, right? So, we could also talk about that, but we'll talk about that later. So, looking at just purely the builds, Chloride had a pretty big disadvantage overall. And the fact that she was hitting upwards to my Raiden, who is at a top 4% level, we can just clearly, see that my Chloride with, her weapon being, just Haran, using Haran on Chloride would give her a better DPS outcome. Maybe, no, actually, she'd probably get a better DPR outcome too. Oh, no, never mind. Chloride, or not Chloride, Varesa did 2.4. I misread that. Okay. Casual 2.4 million. I don't know why you guys are, even considering that, being crazy. It's 2.4 million. It's just, it's, C0 R0 character. Oh my god. I'm very confident I've never done that for Varesa, and that is like the most shocking result I've ever seen. And let's be honest, Mavuika is a big part of that. Like, I just have to say, for Mavuika and Clorinde, their teams, this was pretty huge for them. Now, you know, weirdly, Chevy is a little worse for Raiden, and I believe what it has to do is that the noblesse overlapping with Bennett on Raiden's team really does, like, you know, make Chevy worse than my C2 Shieldon for Raiden, so that's an issue. It's important to note that you could squeak out 1 extra second off of Raiden's time if you wanted to go by the time that I would have gotten, which would have been 19 seconds. That would have been the time that I got. However, if we go over here and we look at, you know, Kujosara, you know, she's at a 20-second cooldown on her burst, so she does end up, you know, like you can't, you know, do the rotation more than every 20 seconds. There's no way to decrease this. It would have been really nice had this decreased the burst duration by 1 second, because then the team would have, you know, flow flawlessly. However, the reason why you can go ahead and you can, you know, take off, you know, 19 seconds is either because you're gonna consider an abyss clear run, and immediately after Raiden's done killing or slashing, she's immediately considered, oh, you've gone ahead and, you know, cleared the abyss in 19 seconds, right? And you just assume that. Or you could look at my C2 Shieldon and say, these characters are benefiting from C2 Mavuika. Why not shave off a second for, you know, Raiden? It's completely fair to do that. And if we go ahead and do that, that brings Raiden up to almost 93,000 DPS. So that does work. So yeah, I do think that overall, you know, Raiden, I mean, we're talking about a C3 R1 character here, and she's punching down, but like she's punching down on a, you know, person 1 inch shorter than her, right? Like that's where we're at with Raiden, I think. And I feel a little bit of vindication, a little bit, just to, you know, say that she's bad, because I mean, if my C3 one is like very clearly losing to Clorinde, and a lot of people, when I said I thought my C3, you know, Raiden was very similar to my Clorinde, a lot of people did not see that as a possible true case scenario. And I mean, to be fair, you know, C2 Mavuika, right? So, you know, the damage on both of these teams would be probably a lot lower, because overall, across the board, you're getting the 10% defense res. So that's 10% extra damage added to your characters, and then you also have all this. So Mavuika does make a pretty huge difference here. However, I don't know if it's a big enough difference to be like, you know, oh, well, Raiden wins, right? You know, it's very clear, you know, if you're looking at Raiden, especially if she's C0, you know, you're not, I mean, well, fair, you could just, you know, C2 Mavuika, well, they have a C3 Raiden, right? You could make the argument, you know, then you would make the argument, well, just put like a, what, C5 Mavuika on the team, and she'll do more damage than all of them, right? So, you could. But just looking at the damages, looking at my account, it's very clear why I think the things that I do, because it's like, she really isn't that impressive. She doesn't really compete with the other characters who can make use of my C2 Mavuika, and I think that's what it boils down to. The damage overall was honestly very good, I would say, just for Varesa. Maybe not so much Clorinde, but Clorinde, again, she's not even, wait, hold on, it's top 40% for aggravate, you know. Let's go ahead and see, you know, well, Overload would be the next best team, which doesn't include Mavuika. It has Fischl and Toma. You'd probably be using Eon-san and, you know, Mavuika, obviously, for this. So, yeah, it's a little bit different, but again, though, at 48%. So let's go ahead and look at the build here. We do have 72% crit rate. Yeah, she does just get 10% crit rate, so it's just really unlikely that she doesn't crit. I think I might have changed her build around a little bit since I last did this, because I remember I was overcapping on crit rate quite a bit, or at least like 8% or something like that. And then she is on, you know, Whimsy, so it's not awful. And then obviously she's using Haran, which is a very good weapon for her. It's her second best weapon. So yeah, and the same thing with Varesa is that she is using her second best weapon, I believe, and that is Lost Prayer. Although if you got her signature weapon, I would be concerned of how like dominant this character would be on this, like when we're tracking these two characters, like or these three characters. Like The other two characters could not stand a chance. Because if you don't know, Varesa has at least one of the highest, if not the highest, weapon percentage increase into her damage. If you got her weapon, she would increase by like 30%, 30 to 40% damage increase. And she already has a pretty big lead on the other characters. This is just like, I get now why people consider this character the second best DPS in the game. Like, there is an argument to be made. There is. Because, like, when I play this character, I did not realize that is what I was looking at. I didn't realize that is the damage that I'm getting. Now, her rotation was like 22 seconds or borderline 23 seconds. It was 22 seconds and 28 milliseconds, I think is what it was. And, you know, had it been a couple more milliseconds, it would have been a 23-second rotation. So, like, if you mess up, like, a little bit, you know, it is a 23-second rotation, right? But she still does a lot of damage, right? Man, like, this is such a good character. They really, like, it sucks because I don't like using this character. If you don't know, like, I'm not like a huge fan of Ursa. It was fun when she first launched, but after using her, I just find it so not appealing to use this character. She feels like she has less control over damage compared to other characters, and I just don't find myself using this character. I don't know if I've ever really like stated that like on a video, but that is why I don't necessarily use Versa all the time. She's a very fun character. She's a very useful character. But yeah, let's talk about the other characters builds in this video. We can see that Mavuika here, C2 R1, obviously, and she has, you know, this is her build up. And, what? Okay. Because that's 50, yeah. I don't know if I changed something, but this is her build. I guess she had 95% almost crit rate. I'm surprised that that's so similar to our normal crit rate. Yeah, 7%, 6.6%. That's interesting. I didn't know that was that, but this is my normal build for Mavuika, right? And then we have Eon-san here. She was on Engulfing Lightning, and then all her artifacts, she is on Scroll, so whenever she needed to react with Pyro, she did, right? But, yeah, looking at this, you could see she's just obviously on, you know, the standard set, whatever. And then, she is only C1, so you can get more damage for Varesa specifically because of how easy it is for Varesa to trigger this, so, like, super easy, and you'll get more damage for Varesa. And also, you know, her E skill, we did it once. It did like a little bit of damage, but yeah, this was doing like 23,000 damage. And then yeah, we have Chevy here, no talent levels, although honestly, you probably could. You could get away with just leveling her talents. She's at C5, not C6, so you can get both. Well, you'd get more damage from Raiden also because after, you know, C6, she would then become better for Raiden, even with the Noblesse overlap. But without it, you know, without C6, then Shieldon becomes better because I have a C2 R1 Shieldon. And, you know, this is, you know, the weapon that I use on her. Not necessarily going to raise it to 90 because raising it to 90 would not put me at 40,000 HP. I think it puts me at like 37,000 something, right? It's really not that huge. I wish it was 40,000, but I can't get 40,000 on her right now. And then, yeah, I guess we have Kujosara and Bennett to go over. We just have, there's not really much else to go over with these two. They have just, you know, the highest base attack weapon they can have. And then also, you know, the Q skill there, you know, and then, yeah, Q skill again. And then Bennett C5 could give Mavuika more damage. Or no, not Mavuika. Who was I using? Just nobody. I wasn't going to be able to give Mavuika more damage. And then Bennett, when we were using him on the Raiden team, did have Noblesse. So that is why he's like that. And overall, that is the video because not really much else to talk about. I mean, Versa just swept. As simple as that. Chloride, I think, can easily reach the level that Raiden's at because I think legitimately. And Chloride has higher crit rate than Mavuika. So she performed a little worse, but she has higher crit rate than Mavuika, which, I mean, that's just how strong Chloride is. I mean, because all of the stats that she needs are offensive stats. So her damage is just going to get increased. It's not like, oh, she's top 40% because I have 60% crit rate. No, she's top 40% because I don't have enough damage stats. That's insane to me to say, but like that's genuinely what it is. So yeah, certainly something I'm kind of interested in. I'll see, maybe I'll watch Chloride's career with great interest. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.